This is dangerous. Oh my goodness. So this story is emblematic of why the agitators and the race baiters like Charlie Kirk are so dangerous. And I think many people are overlooking this aspect when viewing this story. And what the story is of this lifeguard. It's a white male, and he's fixing his bike. And there's a black kid, two black kids, who are walking, and they cross his path. This then sparks this guy to take a gun out and fire away. One person didn't make it, the other person was wounded.
A 55-year-old lifeguard remains in custody this evening, charged in the shooting death of one teenager and the wounding of another. The incident happening Thursday evening outside the Douglas Park pool.
Now, his defense was that it was self-defense, that these people lunged at him. Fortunately for the family of these poor sons, is that there was video recording, and the video recording completely contradicts everything that he's saying, that there was no lunge. As a matter of fact, the kids weren't even going towards him. They were going around him.
There is absolutely no justification to shoot a child in the back anywhere, let alone a public pool and park.
This is what I'm talking about. And the issue is that this fear-mongering, this boogeyman, this concept that, hey, it's the black person. The blacks, they're dangerous. You gotta be careful. They'll lunge at you. They're vicious. They're monsters. And this is the type of anti-black racism that we've had throughout this country. We had this at the White House with Birth of a Nation. This anti-black racism, this propaganda that's being disseminated to these people, and it's causing a fear reaction to the point where they actually believe that a random black person is just going to come in and attack them. This whole anti-white racism that is being promoted by the Trump White House and by his lackeys of, hey, we've got to fight for America. We're going to lose it, to the Muslims, or we're going to lose it to the blacks, or we're going to lose it to, the Jews, or any of these conspiratorial nonsense. That's what happens when their brains get mushed. And you see this man react to something that most of us wouldn't even notice, right? There wouldn't trigger a defense mechanism in us, right? Fight or flight would not be triggered by someone walking by us. But it goes to show this man, I would love to see as far as when, they do discovery, and to see as far as maybe what content was he listening to, the people he followed, the posts on social media, because I would argue it would definitely paint a picture, and a picture that we've seen time and time again. It's a pattern with these people.
He's out of line, but he's right.
We've seen this when it comes to unfortunately, the school shootings. When it comes to, the Buffalo massacre, they are galvanized. They are brainwashed due to online critics, due to these online people, these online caricatures. And the worst part is that the people that they listen to don't even believe what they're saying.
Damn.
They are saying this because they know that there's an audience for it. It's tantamount to, like, as I said with Charlie Kirk, as I said with Steven Crowder and the rest of them. They will say anti-black, things because they know there's an audience for it. And that audience will pay to hear their beliefs justified. That is the cruel, vicious cycle of what we're seeing in the media. That's a cruel, vicious cycle of what we're seeing on YouTube and other platforms, whether it's Rumble and, the list goes on, is that they are just feeding the monster. And when something happens, just like, for example, January 6th, all of these people that were telling these individuals, these ignorants, these white ignorants, that, hey, the election is being stolen. They're taking the country. They're Democrats, and they want to steal stuff, and they want to steal the election. They're doing it right in front of your face, and we can't allow that to happen. All of that is being fed to these low IQ, easily swayed individuals, okay, these ignorants of the country. And sure enough, that's what happened on January 6th. Sure enough, that's what happened when you gaslight these people. They are going to behave. And not one of the people who was spreading this misinformation, who was gaslighting them, showed up on January 6th. Not one of them showed up in that Capitol. Not one of them was arrested. And you would think that people would, snap out of it, be like, oh, I'm getting played. But that's not what happens. They go back. And the people then gaslight them again. Hey, you were wrongfully imprisoned. That's what happened to you. That's what the Democrats did. The Democrats wrongfully imprisoned you while there are killers on the loose in Chicago. That's how they do. And it's this crazy pipeline that I'm witnessing. And an occurrence like this is going to be, standard. We're going to have something like this. We're going to have one of these ignorants, just like this, do something that is unprovoked, and they'll just label it as, well, self-defense. And they genuinely, probably in their brains, they believe, hey, knowing the black people, 1350, they were probably going to kill me. I've seen what happens in Chicago. And it's like this black man bad porn throughout X. And we've seen this all the time. And that has an impact on people. That's why it's so important when people want to talk about more censorship. And it's like, no, just like we wouldn't allow, as far as CP to be on YouTube, to be on these platforms, we should allow people who promote such hateful ideology, such hateful propaganda, because it has real world impacts. There are already people out there and that hate us for simply existing. We already know that. What we don't want are those who are misfortunate, those who are misguided, those who may be in precarious, situations in life that are then gaslit to now, instead of taking responsibility for you being in a trailer park, instead of taking responsibility for you losing the job to Deshaun, they now have someone to blame. They now have a scapegoat. Well, it's because the Jew did the program that hired Deshaun. It's now because I have to live here because, the blacks have infiltrated the communities and stuff like that. And they're terrorizing. Like, I don't have a girlfriend because, the Jews, convince the white girls to get with the black guys. And that's why I don't have a girlfriend. And it's this sick cycle of victimhood. And eventually what happens is they snap. They crack. They crack under the pressure because their minds, their physical bodies, bro, their lineage as a people they're not built, they haven't evolved to handle such pressure.
Damn.
But these people have very low pain thresholds, which causes them to act out in violence. Such violence is this story. And I think many people are missing this, that this is a bigger issue. He went out and lied and said that this person lunged at him. The crazy part on that is that he's a veteran, and on top of that, he's trained in de-escalation.
Slater was a decorated veteran with multiple tours of duty in the Marine Corps, stints as a reservist, adding he was a member of the National Guard, even trained in de-escalation.
Think about that. The propaganda that has been fed to him overrode everything that he's been trained on, overrode his military training, overrode his de-escalation training. That's what fear does. And if you can look throughout history, that is what has enabled them to do heinous things to black Americans. That's what has enabled them to do heinous things even presently. They have an irrational fear, a phobia, if you will. They have a black phobia, unfortunately, where it causes them to be irrationally fearful of just any random black person they come across, in which they react in such a hostile and aggressive way. And they will never be in the wrong. You have to understand, him right now, even on camera, will say, hey, it was self-defense. That is what we're dealing with. And that's why it's so dangerous when we have these people who are spewing this to individuals. It'd be different if you and I saw this and we're like, okay, yeah, this person's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But that's not, at one point in time, that used to be the standard, I would argue. That used to be the standard where, the average person would watch someone like a Charlie Kirk or a Steven or a Fuentes, whatever, and just dismiss them as a loony bin. Like, yeah, it's a loony bin, this is, cuckoo, white supremacists, whatever, and be on about their day. But unfortunately, due to the declining circumstances of their group, when it comes to birth rates, when it comes to suicides, when it comes to mental health, skyrocketing. They're the leading group in all of these, in all of these causes. What it does is it broadens the gap for them to be manipulated. That's what it does. Because the worse that someone's life gets, there has to be an answer. We search for answers. And if there's someone saying, I got the answers, it's the blacks. Despite how logical it may be, they will latch on to it. And that's what we're seeing. You don't have a girlfriend, you're an incel? I'll tell you why. It's the blacks. They're going for the blacks. And what we have to do is we have to shame them for not to go with the blacks. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. They're losing it.
He's out of line, but he's right.
We are seeing a mental decay, a mental deterioration, a physical deterioration in some cases, thankfully to the son, of this lineage of evil. And genuinely, it's us who has to be, cautious of these people because you don't know when they're going to snap. It's not so much, oh, you in the hood or anything. No, there's no determining factors for them. They can be in a suit and tie, well educated, and bust out a gun from their briefcase. They can be at a pool, bruh, and start inflicting violence. So you have to just be aware, and that's not to fear monger. That's just to be cautious of what this group is going through. Anyways, guys, that's the video. Let me know what you guys think. I don't know what the other side of this is. Other is just cope and denial, right? Because anytime you bring up a factor that is a detriment to their community, where they say more black on black crime, but more Chicago. I'm like, how does black on black crime help you get a job? How does the crime rate in Chicago benefit your birth rates? How does that help you get a wife and kids? How does that help you get a house? And, unfortunately, they've been sold a bag of spoiled goods, we'll say. Anyways, that's the video. If you happen to disagree, you know where to find me. Thursday through Saturday, disagreement day. There'll be a number on screen. You call in, we duke it out. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free to like, share, comment. Let me know what you guys think. What is the solution? Is there a solution? And subscribe. And that fun stuff. Till next time, guys, be amazing. You gotta be careful. They'll lunge at you. They're vicious. They're monsters.